From deep in the Burbank Media District, it's time for another edition of My Burbank Talks, presented by the staff of My Burbank. Now, let's see what's on today's agenda as we join our program.
Hello, Burbank. Craig Sherwood here with you once again, along with Ross Benson.
Howdy ho, rodely do. We're doing a show. Let's go.
And still in recovery mode, we have Craig Durling via Zoom.
I can't believe it's been another week already, but glad to be back.
Well, we've all been busy this last week, haven't we? So, a lot of things going on, which we'll get into, of course. Well, let's start off with last week's winner. Last week's winner was Joe Carici.
Carici, that's
the winner of what?
Oh, hell of a name.
Joe Carici, yeah. He won a $25 gift card for Hill Street Cafe up on Glen Oaks in beautiful Burbank.
By doing what? He emailed us the word of the week from last week's show, right?
Which was Road Kings. He emailed it to contest at myburbank.com, and he was selected the winner.
You know, I'm curious if good old Joe came to the car show. You know?
Joe at the car show.
Joe at the car show would have.
Well, we had a lot of people stop by the booth and say hello. You never know.
One of them could have been JoJo.
You never know. Well, I think he would have said something.
Yeah, you would think so.
Joe is probably a pretty vocal guy, we hope.
Ooh, vocal. Meaning singing?
If he watches or listens to this podcast, you know he's at least involved, if not vocal.
Well, if we listen right now, maybe we can hear him going, yeehaw, as he heard his name being read. So
Cha-ching!
Anyhow, well, we have another word of the week a little later in the show, so please listen for it. And when you hear it,
bury it deep. You know we bury it deep.
And when you hear it, just send it into contest at myburbank.com, and you too can win a $25 gift card to Hill Street Cafe. All righty. Well, let's get into last week. So Tuesday we had a city council meeting.
Well, wasn't that fun?
And the one thing that, of course, the first partner is that it's the budget. And
who doesn't love a budget adoption?
No, first thing is all those calls that I sit through, and I've gone through hammers. I've thrown stuff at my screen. And then when they get to the call-in callers, no offense, folks, get your shit together.
You're lucky you have horrible aim and a horrible throwing arm, Ross. Otherwise, you'd go through so many television sets.
Yes. Well, I know our mayor, Nick Schultz, he loves the budget process. He lives for the budget process. But
see, and I was right. Last week they voted on it to, what's it called? Ratify?
Yeah.
Accept it.
Yeah.
So instead of another meeting.
It's now our budget for the 24-25 year. And of course, the budget starts on what day?
July 1st.
July 1st.
And
so
it was
the doors are staying open for another year.
$838 million. Just a couple of little change. You know.
No wonder they want to put parking meters in.
So the city council also passed this time the second reading, and now it's officially in the books, the gun ordinance. So basically, what this is that you have to be 1,000 feet from residential zones and sensitive locations. It's effective starting July 6th, 2024. And it applies to all current and future firearms and ammunition retailers in Burbank.
Hey, Craig, did you notice Craig's notes when he typed this out? He said 000 feet. There's some people that would probably love that.
It's funny because I'm so used to going through this and doing little spelling corrections and stuff that I put a 1 in there on my copy.
I'll start remembering that every mistake we make. I'll make sure we all bring it up for everybody.
No, you never see it because I correct them behind the scenes. Well, that's my little thing. But I'm sure that if people were read into the actual statute, it would clearly define what sensitive locations are exactly, right?
Well, I'll let people go read it for themselves.
Well, right. It's probably lengthy.
But they never.
But I sure hope, I haven't had a chance to look into it yet, but I sure hope they've answered that question about how they measure that distance.
And I did ask a city planner, who I will not mention because I told him it was off the record when he talked to me. He told me, yes, indeed, it is as the crow flies from property line to property line.
Perfect. I like it. Well codified.
So now we do know.
Codified? Is that a fish?
Codified. Well, that's if you turn into a fish.
Oh,
you become codified.
I've just never heard that word. It's codified. Okay.
To be entered into, basically made into code, put into the code, codified.
Oh.
Like the vehicle code is a codified list of vehicular regulations. Anyway, that should be the word of the week, codified. But too late. It's not it. Stand down, everyone. That's not the word of the week. Sorry.
You said half people probably couldn't spell it.
You said it, not me.
Oh, Ross, please spell codified for us.
I couldn't even.
Okay.
COD.
Point made. Okay, let's move on.
Starts with a C.
Moving on. The city council authorized money for architects to engineer plans for the Home Again LA facility they're having at the old Station 13 and Boys and Girls Club on Buena Vista near San Fernando. I talked to Albert Hernandez about it a little bit the other day, and he's extremely happy. He's thrilled about the entire project and hopes to have it functional within 2 years, he said.
It was funny. I talked to him at an event too, or somewhere else the other day, and I told him I have pictures of that old fire station with an engine and an RA sitting out front, and a rescue ambulance. And he said he wants to talk to the architects to make the front of it to resemble the old fire station 13. So that'd be kind of cool.
So is their plan to renovate the existing structure, or they're not going to level it, are they?
Correct. It would cost. It was built 46, I think, all concrete.
Yeah, with it having some local history to it,
Right.
It'd be a shame.
I think you should get that picture made up, but it's a 16 by 20 and present it to them when they open. That'd be a nice thing to have, on there. They'd probably appreciate it.
Well, Craig, that building, the HVAC is out of date, asbestos.
Right.
Now there's weeds. They'll have to call the dig team in to take care of the weeds. But he's hoping to move in a couple of years.
And then the only other really thing of note to bring up, which really isn't, I better watch what I say, or we'll get phone calls. Councilmember Constantine Anthony brought up that he wants a resolution brought back for the United States to tell the U.S. government to get out of Gaza. So, and I'm sure that's what they've been waiting for. This entire time, they're waiting to know what Burbank thinks about the conflict. And so they're not going to get out. And Hamas has said, we're not going to have a surrender or any kind of a ceasefire until we hear from Burbank.
He sure is willing to take on a very divisive topic and opinion for the entire city, I guess.
Well, in all honesty, you know what? I'd rather just go ahead and do the darn thing, and then people are going to stop calling in for half an hour. They're going to stop going to public speaking for an hour, and we'll get the meetings a lot. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying that this isn't, but it's a world issue.
But he's also assuming that everybody in Burbank agrees with.
Right.
Well, and that's what gets me is those callers calling in, call after call. They want them, the city to do something like it's going to change something. Folks, we have trouble them timing the lights on Glen Oaks.
Yeah.
I mean, the city already stopped nuclear war.
That's true. We did. We have the resolution against nuclear war.
How much can that one little city do?
And of course, don't we have world peace because Miss America says in her interview how they're going to solve world peace every year? And isn't that supposed to apply to that?
Well,
also?
Everybody wants to solve world peace. That's what they always say. But do they ever actually figure it out? Apparently not.
Has there been a president in the last 40 years that ever brought peace to the Middle East? And they're presidents. So like I say, I'm done and over with it. I agree that there should be. I'd love to have peace in the Middle East. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. My lifetime may not have much to go anyway. And after tonight, I might be having a target on my back. So who knows?
Some people need to stay in their lane.
Anyhow,
and I'm not talking about you, Craig.
Well, I'm talking about me.
I know.
Me and my mouth's gotten me into more trouble than I can ever think.
These resolutions are.
I just
starting to stretch. Anyway.
Yeah.
I digress.
There we go.
Happy, joy.
Let's move to Wednesday. Wednesday, we had a meeting for the media district-specific plan at the Buena Vista Library. We actually filmed the meeting because Burbank did not, and it is now on our YouTube channel. And I put it up a couple days ago. It's already had 100 views so far, so I think people are interested in the plan and what's going on. I will say this. I thought the plan was very thorough, and there was a lot of information there. I don't think that in the long run, how much good it's going to do when you have Assembly and Senate people who are going to keep putting in measures that bypass local government zonings. But let's hope for the best. And people also brought up, will this affect the new building that they want to do at Pass and Riverside that is going to be, and the answer is no, because they submitted the plans for this before the media plan has been adopted. So the media plan will not affect the size and scope of that building.
Oh, you know what?
Oh,
3 days in a row, I went through the intersection of Buena Vista and Empire, and the guys that are all working on that new project, that 7-story SB 35, they apparently are leasing spots in that big parking lot over there because they all are carrying their ladders, their levels. Last week it was electrical guys carrying rolls of Romex.
Beep, beep, beep. Wait. We have some more breaking news on that. And that is, I talked to one of the planners, and they told me, there are 3 projects for Empire, and now 2 have been abandoned. It's just the one they're working on right now is the only one going on. We got to show 5 seconds of this, by the way. So that is it. Only one of those SB 35 projects on Empire.
Is that a Selectric, by the way? Because it sure sounded like
I don't know what it is. But that was breaking news. So, yeah. So now we only have 1 project instead of 3 projects on Empire. So we're probably not going to have a ghetto there now.
Well, it's really funny because I guess I've been in that intersection at the exact time 3 days in a row to watch. And these guys are wearing the fluorescent vests and the hard helmet, but carrying their 6-foot step ladder, some guys with their troweling tools, and it's just, to me, it kind of grabbed my eye that they got to walk. That's a good 5 blocks to that parking lot.
What parking lot are you talking about?
The one on the southeast corner, the big the parking lot for that office building.
Oh, but the question is,
the one I cut through to get to the Empire Center.
Right. The question is, are they leasing the spaces, or are they just using the spaces?
I would think if Linda Benson could use it for her Elevate Burbank performance, they probably made a deal.
My question is, why can't these workers use the transit that everybody's supposed to be using for this building? And they have a transit center right across the street called a bus stop. Why can't they?
Why can't they just use all the parking spaces at the building they're putting together?
There's only 7.
Oh, never mind.
Yes. But no, there's actually 8 places because one's handicapped.
But I can't picture, and I shot a picture of it. That's funny that you say that, because I thought last week, somebody getting on a bus with a 6-foot ladder. I don't know if a bus driver would allow that.
Well, don't they put it where the bicycles go on the front of the bus on the little they can have ladder racks.
Yeah, well, that's what it's going to be. People are going to have to carry their tools with them.
Well, that entire project should be bulldozed as soon as it's done.
Not only do the contractors not care about the city of Burbank and the people who live there, they don't even care about the people building their building.
Probably so. Most arrogant owner I've ever seen at a Burbank City Council meeting. He just basically snubbed his nose up and said, "Too bad. What you gonna do about it?" I mean, I hope we monitor every aspect of everything. I hope our building inspectors are on top of that. Like, you know what?
That post one at every corner. But so if anybody wants to watch that video, just go to YouTube and do a search for My Burbank.
Type in My Burbank.
Right to the page.
Oh, and Ross has a picture of that.
Yeah, how long were you at that light, Ross?
That light, if you get into that one, it's a stale red. You're there for 4 cycles. I've now got it. You got to know what to get in the left or the right lane, because again, I don't think the city. I thought that's what they had gotten in trouble when that Empire Project was done, there were supposed to be 2 right turn lanes coming off of Buena Vista on Empire, and there isn't. It's
we've never really looked into that. There were supposed to be some traffic mitigations, and I have a feeling that we keep saying on the council agenda potential litigation against the city. I think somebody's going after the city to get their traffic mitigation that was promised when the Empire Center was put in actually completed. So
mitigation's a bigger word than codified.
They start on both of the C, I guess, don't you? No.
This isn't a contest.
So anyhow, that is I found that to be very interesting. Now let's move on to Friday. Friday we had they didn't open, but we celebrated a business's grand opening, and it was nothing but cakes.
Nothing who?
Nothing but cakes.
A bunt.
And they've now officially been christened since they had their ribbon cutting at the Empire Center.
Wait,
very well attended.
Is that anything like circumcision? No, it isn't.
It's funny. It's very well attended. I have a feeling the reason it was so well attended is because they had samples for everybody there.
But I will admit, I bought a dozen. I paid for a dozen, and I took them to my granddaughters. And my son was not all that happy because 12 cupcakes between 2 girls. I guess they were on a sugar buzz for a while.
Well, they gave me 3. I took them home. I have 3 roommates, and they each enjoyed one. I decided that knee operations are more important than the lust of a bundt cake.
I'll admit, I had one, I got one of that dozen. Gosh, they're good. Man, are they good.
Yeah, they're
feeling a little left out.
Well, we're always glad to bring you with us.
Yeah, you don't know. Isn't there a video going to be?
Well, we're going to work on a video and have it hopefully later this week. We're kind of behind on videos. This show's got to get done first. We've got the Chamber Awards that still get done. And then of course the bundt cake.
But I think I was walking by you when you were doing the camera work in the video, and their story's kind of neat. Their mother lived in Glendale, walked to Burbank, and everybody said, move to Burbank. Yeah. We finally got them in Burbank. I think they're going to be.
Oh, the owners are very, very friendly people. They're very committed to the city, and they're committed. This is their 3rd franchise now. And I didn't realize. I thought it was their business. It's a quote business, but it's not. They're franchisee. So I didn't realize that Nothing Bundt Cakes is a national franchise. So
yeah, weren't they? They were ribbon cutting. Sometimes you get to a ribbon cutting, you got a zillion people. It's like herding cats, but they're very, very nice people. And
yes.
like you said,
very accommodating. Samples. Yeah, very helpful. Help me out with the video a little bit.
And if anybody's wondering, as we're all talking about it, they are right across from where Sharky's is. Next to...
What if they don't know where Sharky's is?
Well, that's...
Yeah, where's Sharky's?
Sharky's is on the backside. They're behind Bevmo. And there's a pizza... what pizza place is over there that I did the opening many months ago? They're behind that. And...
of course, behind that. The one that... What was it called?
This is the Empire Center?
It's the Empire Center. It's the little...
Okay.
In fact, here's an easy way. If you go to REI... And when you drive into REI, just go to where the Empire Center stops, make a right.
The old hometown buffet.
No, that's gone. Make a right and go right down to, and just stay on that little road right there. You're going to run into it.
Head toward the Olive Garden.
Yes.
Well, you know what, Craig? I see on the city's map are places that the old restaurant there. It's the only one that's left that's going to be able to do a drive-through, and they're supposed to be, not Mel's Diner, but what is it? Amy's, I believe. And they before the code changed, they're putting a drive-through in at that restaurant.
Which restaurant?
What was Hometown Buffet? It's
okay.
Amy's. Amy's does.
I just drove by there and it just looked vacant.
And it had
I didn't see
it being used for a production office for a while, but because I drive by it every day going up Empire. But what's interesting is it was the only one that was allowed, the last drive-through. And if you ever go into your frozen food section, Amy's is a very, very big company. They have different divisions. Well, they do a restaurant too.
If you ever go into your frozen food section, get out immediately or you'll freeze.
Boom.
Well, also Friday we had an incident, which we will probably now get into for a little bit, and that's all of a sudden we turned on all the local news channels, and here's the LA City Council President Paul Krikorian chastising the Burbank Police Department for taking out their homeless people and dumping them into Los Angeles. And he had a video to back it up. A video that is at double speed and not very long. And all he could say was, shame on Burbank, basically. And here's the thing. Let me get into this a little bit. I wrote an editorial that came out today about it, but I'll get briefly into it, then I want your guys' opinions.
But I want people to read your editorial, your opinion piece. They need to go to myburbank.com and read it completely, because I don't think you're going to read the whole thing.
I'm not going to read the whole thing. It took me too long to write it, more or less read it. Anyhow, they picked up this guy from in front of near St. Joseph's Medical Center. They convinced him to put some clothes on because he, they say naked. They said naked, but for all, yes, the Burbank police did all. They say naked. That naked could be he only had maybe underwear on. We don't know what naked meant. So then they didn't. They convinced him. Look, cooperate with it and help us out a little bit here. We don't want to take you to jail. Would you like to go somewhere? He said, yeah, I want to go back to Sunland Tahunga. Well, they go, we can't take you there. He goes, take me to the red line. I went back and listened to the radio communications, and I heard the officer say 32 en route with 1 to the red line station in North Hollywood. So that point, very true statement. The information we got in their press release said that on the way to the red line station, he saw a coffee shop and said, let me off here. I want to get some coffee. They pulled over. They got him out. He was handcuffed for officer safety reasons, and that's the only reason he was not under arrest, because he wanted to get out of the vehicle. They let him out of the vehicle and took off the handcuffs, and he stood there. And as they got back in the car, he laid back down on the sidewalk again, and they pulled away. Is it a good look? Absolutely not. But my problem is this. Mr. LA City Council President, did you ever pick up the phone and call somebody in Burbank? Did you call the police chief, Michael Albanese, who was one of your most trusted people in your department for many, many years? Did you pick up the phone and ask the mayor of Burbank, who has his number everywhere, and say, we have an issue here. Can you please look into it? Did you call anybody in Burbank? No. You just went right to the news media and said, hey, look at this. Burbank is a terrible city. And you know what? I've got a real problem. I got a real issue with that. There was no forethought of trying to work this out first. And you know what? He calls Burbank and he says, hey, give us a week to look into it. And we'll get back. And they'll get back to him. Yes, do what you need to do then, because they're not responding to you. But not even having the opportunity to do it and just blasting the city of Burbank is just uncalled for. It's unprofessional, and it's political grandstanding. And I think,
and what gets me about it.
Go ahead, Ross. Give me your opinion.
I watched the video. Everybody did. It's been on every channel.
It's on our YouTube channel.
It wasn't just, but not his press conference. The cameras gave a wide shot. He didn't call just the LA Times or Channel 5. They were all there. He had quite a bit of time to drop the dime to Burbank. It's just really frustrating, because every news media, they want to attack. Burbank did wrong. Burbank police did wrong. Let's point the finger at Burbank. They didn't do this right. But
let me interrupt you 1 second. This is somebody who was the assembly member representing Burbank until 2010.
He was a school board member.
You cannot tell me he did not have phone numbers in Burbank or knew anybody in Burbank.
Yeah, his kid went to school the same time my son went to Burbank.
Well, they had constant communication lines between the different city governments and stuff. So he doesn't need personal contacts to do the business of the city, which is what he is purportedly supposed to be doing.
Well, and come on, he's the president of LA City Council. He's got probably 25 people at a minimum that work in his office.
Well, his staff member took care. And I like to know, we're staff members. What did you do for him? You didn't say what you did for him. Did you bring him to a hospital? Did you get him to a donut shop so he can get a coffee? Did you put him in a shelter? Where is he now? Do you have his name? Do you have his information? Or did you just kind of pass him off also now? And now you are accusing Burbank of doing what probably you just did yourselves.
Well, and we've listened to the radios for years. We hear officers get to St. Joe's. I mean, Craig and I have made note, if there is a shooting victim, a stabbing victim, anything, and it's in LA City on any of the borders of Burbank, St. Joe's is the hospital they go to. And I pointed this out to a city official today. It really gets me because I listen to LA City Fire. And you know how many times I hear them go en route to St. Joe's, en route to... I've driven behind St. Joe's down that back alley. And you know how many times there are rescue ambulances, like 5 and 6 of them sitting at St. Joe's. So they might have picked up this guy originally. But Burbank PD, or Burbank paramedics, I should say, those stabbing victims, Burbank paramedics have to take care of them and take them either to county or Holy Cross. It happens numerous times. So somebody getting, and St. Joe's is looking into it. They don't even know if he was treated at St. Joe's. They're looking into it.
Well, and I'm going to say this. How many times has one of the LA RAs brought somebody into Burbank at St. Joe's for treatment, and they decide to leave St. Joe's? And guess when they leave St. Joe's, where are they? They're in Burbank. And that's where LA brought them. So it's not like, and like I said in my piece, you know what? You're worried about this one man, and we're all worried about any individual, but hey, how about worrying about the people living under your freeway bridges? How about all the people in tents living in your city too? Try to find that in Burbank, because we are proactive and we do try to help these people.
Oh yeah,
that was one thing that came to my mind. Is do you think the city council president is trying to deflect a little attention away from his shining light on the hill that is Los Angeles right now? They're doing a fantastic job, aren't they? Also, what I'd like to know is how many times does this exact scenario play out within the city of Los Angeles every day and night? Constantly, I'm guessing. But from a legal standpoint, if this gentleman is not under arrest, in custody, not a danger to himself or others, guess what? He can go on his way, make his own decisions. If he wants to lay down on a sidewalk, he can lay down on a sidewalk. That's the end of it. They were extending the courtesy of giving this person a ride to where he has to go. If per policy, if he has to be in handcuffs, that doesn't mean he's under arrest. They can only do so much in these situations. So I have a lot of thoughts bouncing around in my head, and they're coming out of the blender all at once here. But
nowadays, the microscope, and I'm not going to say the magnifying glass, but the microscope is on law enforcement. How can they do wrong? What are they doing wrong? It's really glad that Burbank many years ago went to what's called the body cam. They're not only on the officers, it's in the car. The conversation, there is a full investigation that is being conducted, and those body cams are going to listen to what the conversation was with the gentleman, what was in the car, where he said he wanted to get out, all of that, and so we got to just back off for a couple of days. These investigations don't happen overnight.
Well, the way the city council president delivered his message publicly, this is clearly going to be a debate held in the headlines. And it's very important, everybody out there, if you're concerned about this at all, is to read beyond the headline, read the stories, read the facts, watch the body cam video, and pay no mind to the manner in which it was delivered from the city of LA, because they're no shining example of how business should be done.
Very, very true, Craig. And it's we've been around this for a long time. I mean, Craig and I were one day sitting in the lobby of the station waiting to meet with the chief, and we literally saw an officer make every offer to a guy that
spend 20 minutes with him
that would do anything for him. And 99.9 of the officers will do that. Burbank takes care of these people. It just, everybody's rushed to judgment.
Well,
let's slow down.
Kikorian says his staff said the man had a broken leg. Really? Who diagnosed that broken leg? Was that his medical staff?
Come from? Where did that information come from?
I mean, so if he has a broken leg, did you rush him to the hospital then? Is he now in the hospital getting a broken leg fixed?
I have an idea. How about everybody out there slows their roll and waits for the investigation to be complete?
Hey, there you go. You know what? I'm going to request the body-worn camera from that day, the footage, because I'm going to make sure that and I guarantee you they'll probably be making new policy changes based on this to make sure that the appearance of this does not happen again. And that's how policy changes come about, by something going wrong or something not looking right.
If there was a violation, if something actually comes out of the investigation, that there's a finding that something wrong occurred, or something could be done better.
I just really hate the rush to judgment. Did the officers get reprimanded? What for? They did their job. They helped the gentleman. So why are you going to reprimand the officer?
We'll find out. Burbank doesn't hide those kind of things.
Yeah,
but we've seen this too in area cities where they're very quick to come to rush to judgment. Officers have been terminated, suspended, just from an allegation. While the other side of a chief's mouth, they're saying, got to wait for the investigation to find out everything that went on and come to determination. But they've already ruined the officer.
And that's the great thing about body-worn cameras.
And usually in front of news cameras. So the damage is done, and that's what people hope to do right now in the battle of the headlines, is they hope to do as much damage as they can before the truth actually comes out.
And Craig, you were in law enforcement for a couple of weeks, a couple of years. I remember your graduation. How many officers are out there? You go into that field. It's right like being a fireman. You're going in to help people. You're going in to do a job that a lot of people don't want to do, that will take on helping, yes, the 90-year-old cross the street or the homeless person that gets dumped off at a hospital. That's a call, you might not want to take, but you do because that's what you're hired to do. And it happens every day. Officers do great things. And
here's my last thought on this. If you're in LA and you call the police because you were in an accident but not injured, they say, too bad, we don't show up. If your dog is barking and it might be a burglar, too bad, we don't show up. Is a burglar in your house? We don't show up. LAPD doesn't show up to anything. Where in Burbank, if you pick up that phone and you call the police desk and you report anything whatsoever, they send an officer. I bet you if this had happened in North Hollywood, that guy had been sitting on a bus stop for the next 10 hours, and not one person would have lifted a finger to help him in LA.
And lately, you and I have heard, how many times do we hear or see the calls, go out, check on the well-being of this guy sleeping? Could be a person just sleeping.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And the city I used to work in, it had to be dispatched as a man down, which rolled police and fire in case it was a medical emergency.
Yep. Well, here too. And think about how many times we hear paramedic calls and fire will get on scene and go, person just sleeping.
Yep.
Or vice versa. The police will get there first and say, no, they're just sleeping, cancel fire. But all these resources are rolling to assist somebody until you find out what the situation is.
Okay. Well, enough about this for now. We will, when we hear more, we'll follow up. My Burbank will have the information as it becomes available. And of course, we'll always talk about it here on our weekly show. So,
stay tuned to myburbank.com.
There you go. I was just going to say that you want to see Craig's, his opinion, and it's well written. I was at an event already after it was written, and a lot of people came up to me and said, it's really nice to see, that what was put out, because it's the truth.
This is our city. This is my city, and I took it personally. When somebody from LA tells us how to do our business, who can't take care of their own business, I took it personally. Anyhow,
what happened? Let's see. That was on Friday.
On the weekend, we had the Jackalope. Saturday and Sunday had the Jackalope Art Fair.
Back up. You know what? I just realized. Ashley reminded me today that Friday night there was our all weekend that fair up at St. Francis. She had a new opening, I guess, at Colony Friday night. This weekend.
Well, nobody told us about it.
It's not on the agenda. Brown Act says we can't talk about it.
There we go. If it's not on our agenda from now on,
there was something.
Where's Joe McDougal when you need him?
There was something in this city for everybody. I mean, between
It was a
Friday and
busy
Monday.
weekend.
Let's talk about Sunday.
Sunday.
Road King's Car Show, the ultimate car show in Burbank every year, with more cars than on the 405 at 5:30.
Wait, didn't
It looked. Well, I made the joke that that must have been what the 405 looked like in like the 50s.
But yes,
during
absolutely.
rush hour.
Amazing. We did a podcast from there. We should have that up in we'll have the audio up as you hear this, but we'll have the video up within a day or two. And I think it'll be a lot going on there.
I love going to those events. There were thousands.
Oh yeah,
not cars, but
there was a steady stream of people coming through. Dogs, kids, families.
Dogs. Yeah, let's talk about dogs for a second. Those hot dogs were phenomenal.
Oh, man. And they were reasonably priced.
Yes.
Somebody said they were $7. Did you tell me they were
$7?
Oh.
The specialty ones were $8, which I had one of the New York dogs that had some barbecue sauce and bacon bits on it and stuff. But
you never told me that after the second trip.
What's that?
You never told me that for the second trip. You only said chili.
I didn't know about it.
Well, that's Tony, and he does Holiday in the Park. He is a Road King. They inducted him as an official member of Road King.
Painful that can be sometimes.
Another big word.
But I will tell you, he is. He had a smile on the whole day. He loves making people happy with feeding them.
Well, he made me happy.
He made a lot of people. And you know what? Honestly, folks, I got to say, they had 2 food vendors. They had Tony doing hot dogs and other stuff you can get. And then there was a taco vendor next door. There weren't 50 food trucks around the place. People going there and buying stuff and spending money. This money stays right here.
Even the burritos and breakfast burritos were $7. So everything was reasonably priced. And I'll tell you, what's his name? Tony? With the hot dog?
Yep.
Unbelievable quality hot dogs, right? Big hot dogs.
Well, I'll share with you. The Costco's best.
The condiments, like you'd crank this thing, and the relish would come oozing out, or you'd crank it.
The onions were fresh cut.
Would come out.
Fresh cut onions.
I'm like, this is fantastic. And he said it's exactly like they have at Dodger Stadium.
No.
Except a third of the price.
Except a third of the price and a lot better. Those onions are fresh. At Dodger Stadium, not so fresh.
Those. You guys walk back with your hot dogs. I smelled the onions. That convinced me. And I'm not supposed to be eating onions now. I couldn't turn them down. The relish, it was just
dill
delicious.
relish.
So, not the food, the show itself. What a great show. I mean,
we're talking about the food. It was a car show, for crying out loud.
Well,
Jay Leno stuck his head in on the podcast. You might hear him in the background, but he was being whisked around very quickly by a mob of people. But
and we know how painful that can be also.
Nice enough to be whisked. You might hear him at some point in the background. He stuck his head in and said something. I don't even know what he said.
We will. Our Ashley Erickson, she saved some of us. I couldn't walk it. That grass over at Johnny Carson Park, probably one of my rants. Really hard to walk on.
Holes and gopher holes.
But we had Ashley shoot some what we call B-roll. You will see what Jay drove up in. This thing must have been 20, 30 feet long, some type of a 2-seater that you can't parallel park
or something.
Yeah. But a ton of people, and Jay is so personable. He walks around, and you want to pose a picture, he'd put his hand out and pose.
Yeah.
And right next to us was our good friend, Community Chevrolet. The awards went on. Can they top that show?
The only car there that's not a classic was the Community Chevrolet Corvette, which was an absolutely beast of a machine.
I think even the 2 cars you guys came in are considered classics at this point.
Well, mine is 24 years old.
But another great event. It was the first one I've been able to make it to over the years, but because of that event and planning for it, I wasn't able to get to the Jackalope Art Fair this year up on San Fernando, but I heard it was talking to people at the car show that had gone the previous day. They said it was another great show, good turnout up there on San Fernando. So that was both days, the Jackalope Art Fair.
So if you think about it, we said a little earlier, it was a action-packed weekend. Friday night there was stuff for kids and families. Saturday you could do the art show. Sunday you could do the Road King show. So there's a little thing, all weekend for every age in the city of Burbank. I want
to give a little shout out to Don Balzeroni, who did a nice job taking care of my Burbank there, and I want to thank him for all he did for us.
Well, he
was a consummate host.
That he was, and for Gary for getting us parked right there and getting us all set up. But I got to tell you, it just one of those that's Burbank. It was a Burbank event. I ran into people from, I'm going to say it, old neighborhood Radio Watch days, a CB group that Craig Sherwood and I were involved with 40 years ago. We were the original park patrol, and we were the lookout for Burbank PD. And one of our old CBers showed up there. I had tons of people come up to me.
And he said he still had all the old equipment and some paperwork from the group and everything.
Typical Burbank person. Real keeper. But yeah, it was a good weekend. Check out, like Mr. Sherwood said, that the audio will be up, and then check out, he has to do quite a bit of editing. Ashley gave us probably a good 30 minutes, 2 hours worth of B-roll that Craig gets to look
the entire
show. That'll be on the YouTube channel.
The entire
audio version of the podcast should be up earlier than that, right?
The entire podcast is only about 45 minutes, so we're going to have to cut a lot of that footage out.
Oh, definitely.
Still a podcast.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it'll look looking good for next year. So that was a weekend. We, like Mr. Durling asked, who got sunburned this weekend and who suffered. My legs are still
it was great
hurting.
weather. We lucked out with the weather because the cloud cover stayed for most of the event, which was nice. It kept it kind of cool.
It was nice to see Johnny Carson Park used. Craig and I look back at the days of chili cook-offs and other big events there, and it's really nice to see that park used to the max.
Well, that's it for the week that was. We're going to be back with you in a second for the week that will be.
Enjoying the show right now? Thinking you may want to do your own podcast? Burbank Talks is renting out our podcast studio on an hourly rate. You can do audio podcasts or both audio and video, and even bring in guests to talk with. We will help you get set up on podcast platforms and start a YouTube channel, and we can edit your productions to make you look and sound your very best. If you are interested, please drop us an email at studiorentals@myburbank.com. That's studiorentals@myburbank.com, and we will get back to you. Now, back to our show.
All right, everybody. Craig Sherwood here with you, along with Ross Benson. He says hi, everybody. For you,
he's a magician now,
and of course Craig Durling via Zoom.
Alakazam.
Zoom.
Zoom.
What was that? There's a kids show back in the 70s or 80s called Zoom or something.
Oh, wasn't it with?
It was Bing Bing Bing.
I don't know.
It was like a rabbit or something.
Yeah, it came out of some public channel or something in Boston, I think. When you were Boston stations back in the day.
Well,
we had Bozo the Clown. We had Romper Room. We had Willie Whistle.
Willie Whistle.
I don't know about the Zoom.
Of course, we had Sheriff John here.
That's right. It's good as sheriff. And who's the other guy? In the morning.
Ross will be thinking about that. Anyhow, we're back with you. I'm sure by Thursday this week he will yell it out all of a sudden.
Tune in next week for Ross's answer.
The last week, the Planning Commission, or I should say today, which is Monday, the Planning Commission,
June 10th,
they canceled their meeting.
What?
They canceled their meeting. There's no planning going on for this month.
No offense, but at the rate the state's telling Burbank what to do,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Let's move on to the council meeting tomorrow night. Oh, wait a second.
Oh, I can't wait. That should be a biggie.
There is no council meeting tomorrow night.
But don't forget that Ashley and I covered a St. Joe's Foundation thing today. It's Monday, so unusual. They have a gala over at that place called Lakeside Golf Course, which the front gate is in Burbank. But Mario Lopez it's his golf classic. He had tons of people there raising a lot of money for St. Joe's Foundation, and I saw a ton of our not local politicians, but are some of our department heads and a lot of people from Burbank.
We know one politician won't be showing up at things in Burbank.
No, because I was ready to throw him in the lake in the real Toluca Lake.
Yeah.
Ross, I heard a little bird told me that there might be a drinking game out there floating around. You take a shot every time Ross says gala or ribbon cutting.
Or ton.
I might have just invented that, but sounds good to me.
He always has a ton.
Cheers to that.
He has a ton of people everywhere.
Red Solo Cups. That's even better than the Solo Cup game.
I believe the city council is also going to be dark next week also. In fact,
come on.
We should probably get a hold of our mayor and get our show done next week if he wants to. So.
Well, it's funny. I ran into our city manager and he said...
didn't hurt him, did you?
No, but he is now on vacation for a week. Okay. Good week.
Well, Wednesday, the Board of Library Trustees will meet at 5:30 at the Central Library.
You sure that hasn't been canceled yet?
Oh, they haven't. Those library people love to stay informed.
It is in pencil on the schedule, though.
They'll be getting an update on the Media District Specific Plan and the new Central Library. Now, the new Central Library, that'll be down the pike. We'll get that down. There's a lot going on with that. And of course, our library director just left us. So we're in search for a new library director right now.
But a lot of people are commenting about that, and I just want to make a little note there. Madam Goldman, and our library director, she has worked at many cities. The maximum she has ever worked at a city is 4 years.
Oh.
She has been with Burbank now 8 years. She's put in a lot of groundwork for this new library. She's changed our libraries immensely. We have quite a bit going on. So
well, I will say this, and she's probably done a great job, and she's probably a very nice person. But if we're going to do a major brand new library in Burbank and the plans are getting close, why wouldn't you want to stick around and put your thumbprint on it for generations to come?
You really want to know why? And it's funny because I go to all these places and you see those big bronze name plaques, naming the city council, right, and the city attorney, the city manager, and all the people in the department heads. I don't think she really cared what goes on that plaque because I'm
not talking the plaque. Wouldn't she care about how functional the library is and having her vision?
You don't know where she's going to work in the private sector, and we know how many.
At least for a couple years.
Well, we know how many people that have left city government to go to work for the private sector. We've seen Joy Forbes, who's a vice president up at NBC, left Burbank Redevelopment. She was head of redevelopment.
She was assistant city manager.
And assistant city manager. So when people leave to go to the work in the private sector, that tells you something. So,
well, let's move to Thursday. The Cultural Arts Commission is going to meet at 9 a.m. at the Community Services Building.
Who is up at 9 a.m.?
The Cultural Arts Commission.
Okay, thank you.
They are going to talk about the Burbank Little Theater. And I am curious to know what they're going to talk about. Because, number one, if they're going to raise Olive or George Isaiah Park and raise the softball fields, the gym, and everything else, they're probably going to raise that little theater now. And are they going to design a brand new facility for that? So that'll be interesting to find out some information on that.
Guess who's getting up at 9 a.m.?
I'll watch it on the city's YouTube channel. Oh, wait, they don't put their meetings on the YouTube channel.
But, that's one I thought I had heard some ground rumbling from a lot of the arts people that theaters are pretty important still.
Well, we found that out with the Colony Theater debacle.
That we did. And I think we're on this one. They might not be leveling it as quick, and it's old. Think about it. That little theater has been there for
and needs to be rebuilt. But we do need to keep the original plans called for a new gym to be built, and in the back of the gym, a new community center to be put in that would also serve as a replacement for the little theater, be a theater and a community center. And the theater people said, "Wait a second, we need to have a separate facility. We can't be in a community room." And I agree with that. So hopefully we're gonna solve that problem and keep Burbank the media capital of the world in all forms of media.
But didn't I read in your notes that you diligently put that with this master plan that the city and the parks that they've been doing these meetings, they gathered a lot of information.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what as it progresses.
Right. And, they build parks. Walk into Verdugo. Or you go into some of our parks and they were built back in the 50s. And
in the olden days of rock and roll.
and things change. You know, who would have ever thought of pickleball or olive ball or, you know, crabapple ball or whatever sport it is?
Aren't you up on the new terminologies, huh?
Well, he was built in the 50s too.
Yeah, I guess. Do you know there's a pickleball channel on television now? It's all I do is pickleball on that channel.
It's a thing. Did you know that, like, among the leading causes for injuries in emergency rooms for like adults like in their 40s, 50s, and 60s is pickleball injuries? Because they're all getting into this rage that is pickleball, and they're crashing and burning, breaking ankles, and taking headers.
So I'm curious. You heard of having tennis elbow or stuff? So now do you have pickleball knees?
Pickleball knuckle?
Yeah. Yeah. They're also going to do an update on the new on the elephant parade coming to Burbank, which Ross has been very excited about. So
that's happening.
It's a traveling art exhibit of painted and decorated elephant statues known as the Elephant Parade.
Oh, statues.
Yes.
I was hoping it would be real elephants.
And I'm sure they're going to probably put them all around town, and we will have maps to them and let people know where they are. And I'm sure we'll do a video and the whole thing, you know?
Well, it's happening July 1st. I saw in the city manager notes just the other day, it's happening.
Yep.
There is a webpage out. We will share it. We're going to have a reporter work on that probably this week because it's happening. And several of our advertisers or hosts, UME, is going to have an elephant in their parking lot.
In honor of the elephant parade, I've changed my background.
I thought the original artwork you did before was very becoming of you, though.
What, the blur?
Yes, the blur. I mean,
only if
there it is. I thought that was original artwork.
My actual face.
Oh, okay. Right? I thought they had the original artwork behind you there.
I do have a face for radio, as they say.
But this is a worldwide art exhibit, and Burbank is included, and it's being promoted, and
it'll be fun.
Something different.
We're bringing a lot of people to the city. So Thursday evening, the Park and Recreation Board is going to meet at 6 p.m. at City Hall. And they're going to discuss the media district civic plan also. For the community development department.
It something easier?
Yeah, well, you've got all these plans. You've got 3 different plans going on right now. So, and they're going to get an update on the Cambridge pool and how it's going and how the reconstruction's going and all that stuff. So hopefully that's going well for them. And then we move on to Friday, and Friday is there's an event on Friday that we all like to call Flag Day.
Oh, whoa!
Wait!
Whoa!
What triggered that?
Flag Day.
Flag Day. Whoa!
You know what that sound means, don't you?
Would that be? Are we that far into the show already?
What is that sound? What does that mean?
The word of the week. That must be the word of the week, Craig.
The word of the week. Flag.
Is it flag or Flag Day?
It's flag.
Oh, flag.
The judges will probably accept either, right?
Yeah, you said in Flag Day will probably not penalize you for that.
There, don't take points away. But
That's
what do they do with that word, Craig?
What?
That's an important day.
Yeah. So
it is. We'll get into that in a second.
So send it if you have heard this and you feel a little hungry, then send in the word flag to contest@myburbank.com in the subject line, and please include your address, and we're going to pick a winner for next week's gift card giveaway of a gift card for $25 to Hill Street Cafe on Glen Oaks.
Yum, yum, yum. And you get extra points if you send us a picture of your food.
Yes, absolutely.
What about the flag?
But Flag Day is a holiday celebrated every.
Craig, tell us about it. Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, it's not a federal holiday; it's a state holiday, celebrated every June 14th to commemorate the adoption of the United States flag on June 14th, 1777. It was a little different back then. It had the 13 stripes, but it also only had 13 stars for the original colonies. It's changed since then. But the initial resolution, and I'll read it word for word, stated that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. And as an aside, June 14th is also the birthday of the United States Army.
Oh, very good. My dad was in the Army, the Army Corps of Engineers. on Guadalcanal. And we hope everybody had a good Flag Day. Also on the weekend, DIG is returning to Burbank. And, of course, DIG is standing for absolutely nothing. They're going to be at Stow Canyon Park from 8 to 10 a.m.
Can we get some type of an award that we can present to somebody that comes up with the word dig? I mean, can we make
it stand for something?
Yeah,
like
you
that,
dig it?
as opposed to just the act of digging.
Well, we have a trophy that is at the high school that goes between. Maybe we can get a mini trophy that says dig on it and we present it to somebody.
somebody
that digs, I don't know.
Okay. Well, Sunday, I guess, is Father's Day. So, all you
Sunday
fathers,
the 16th.
all you fathers out there, congratulations on surviving another year with your kid. And, I see we have an interesting,
I found an event for Father's Day, if anybody's interested in going, because the smokehouse will probably be all booked up with reservations. But there is a Father's Day mariachi brunch at IKEA, believe it or not. So it says, get ready to treat Dad to the ultimate Father's Day mariachi brunch bash at IKEA Burbank in the Swedish restaurant. It's from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's $24.99 per person. So it sounds like you'll probably be getting a good spread there. But if you're looking for something to do and can't get into the smokehouse with everybody else.
Yeah, my advice first is try all the local mom and pop restaurants first.
IKEA's here in Burbank.
And of course, and that's mom and pop. It helps the...
Well, I will say
the restaurant in IKEA's is actually they're like underground, super popular. People will go to IKEA's just
for the Swedish meatballs
at the cafes there and the meatballs and all that. So the food's actually pretty good there. I'd be curious to see what kind of spread they have on Father's Day.
We had somebody named Stan Lynch, and he lived for the Swedish meatballs at IKEA.
And I just found out at the Excellence Awards, our Burbank IKEA has a new manager. I did the opening of that store, and the manager's been the same for many, many years. And we have a new, I can't remember her name. I feel bad.
I'm glad you brought it up.
But there is a new manager there, and she told me that she's doing a lot more things with Burbank. But like we say, cool. I do know Tequila's has a great brunch menu for Father's Day that she's been promoting too.
And I know what everybody's thinking about the Swedish meatballs at IKEA. Don't worry. They assemble them for you.
Oh, good. I think that, or they might
you don't have to put them together yourself with a little wrench.
And if they promise you 13, you better make sure it's not 12 there, because sometimes they leave one out for some reason.
Get a baker's dozen?
Yes.
I learned putting stuff together. You can pay them to assemble your stuff. I used to take that little Allen wrench, put it into a drill, and you're not supposed to do that.
I have so many of those saved up over the years. I think I'm going to assemble something with the wrenches. I'm going to build something out of the wrenches.
I guess I'm going to stay on camera all the time.
Oh, I thought I had.
Okay, so well, you know what?
True.
I know one way to get off camera though, and one way only to get off that camera, and it's because we're going to listen now to
Ross's rant. Ross's rant. Ross's rant.
I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
Me. What's up, Doc?
Who's that? What's up, guy? Who is that guy?
That's Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny. Mel Blanc?
Well, it's actually Mel Blanc, but yeah, Bugs Bunny.
Wow. He's been around Burbank for a while. So Ross's rant. I do have a couple that I have written down that.
Oh, so it's Ross's rants.
Yeah, right.
Plural. Okay.
I'm going to be limited here.
Ross's ranting.
Well, we said it earlier. The weekends, the summer's here. I know the summer concert series is starting off. There's every week there is something going on in our fine city. You don't have to leave and go far to enjoy yourself. Burbank has plenty, and we have a ton of new restaurants. And it really kind of gets me. And this is a rant. If you haven't owned a restaurant, shut the heck up when you get on social media, want to criticize. It is very, very difficult to open a restaurant. You want to ask Gary Brick. He'll tell you,
It's even harder to keep one open.
Well, that's it. And when you have a brand new restaurant open and they're doing their best. I know the new Bagel Boss is open, and I read oh, people were there before the store opened. They got in line, and as they got to the cashier, the line was already out the door and up the street. Well, it's brand new. But people are criticizing, or comparing it. I guess that's natural. Everybody has a phone and needs to share their opinion. But I'll tell you, it's like that. They brought in people from New York preparing to handle the amount of people that they're dealing with. For a new restaurant, I just drove by the Magnolia, I think it's going to be called Magnolia Cafe, the old Tin Horn Flats, and the guy has it gutted out and working on it. Took him over a year to get some of the plans that he wanted to do approved. And everybody, wants everything done now. You have your cell phone, you got a microwave, you got all this stuff that does stuff right now. Be patient, folks.
Well, there's no shortage of opinions flying around out there these days.
Yeah, we got a great city. We got some fantastic restaurants. We got tons of stuff going on. Just lay back a bit, slow down. And I will say it again, Mr. Durling's going to laugh at this one. When I say slow down, I actually, he sent me a text. There was a posting last week on Burbank PD's Instagram. An officer impounded a car, cited a guy for going 100 and I believe 9 miles an hour on a Burbank street. I'm sorry, folks. It's happening everywhere. These new cars are built for speed, but not in the city. You wonder why they're, calming streets down and doing what they're doing. Well, that's because you're doing it yourself. So calm down, slow down.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. And I'm very pleased that the officer out there made the choice to actually go with what the vehicle code allowed him to do and actually take the guy into custody, bring him to jail. We live in a time right now where accountability is hard to find out there. And there are no repercussions for people's actions. We see it every day, all day on the news. These takeovers of stores, taking over the intersections, stuff like that. So bravo to the officer that took it upon himself to enforce the law by actually impounding the car, taking the person into custody, teach him a lesson.
Well, you're right, Craig. And I saw on the news the other day, it's unfortunate. A kid just a week away from his graduation crashes and gets killed. And they show the kid's car after the fire department filleted it to get him out, meaning using the job as a life. They give their 17-year-old a Corvette. If that is not an invitation to kill your kid, that I don't know what is. And right. I'm saying that bluntly. I remember giving my kid a Geo. A little tiny Geo, because I knew he couldn't go over 55 miles an hour.
It's like when somebody, learns, he gets their motorcycle license endorsement finally, I tell them, please don't go out and buy a Ducati. Go buy an old Honda, with a small engine, some clunker that'll get you around safely. But you don't need the fastest, industry bike out there to learn on. And you're right. They give these kids, especially in LA, they get BMWs and Teslas and Mercedes and in some cases, but they're over their heads as soon as they sit behind the steering wheel. Had a conversation with somebody at the car show. He said every new driver should get like an 82 Volvo 4-door, because they're built like tanks, but they're not going to be driving over their heads. And this 109 we talked about it last week, but I'm still shaking my head over it. But I'm glad. Imagine the ones that don't get caught.
Well, I happened to question one of the motor officers, and it was the motor officer that did that, cited him, and I thanked him. I applauded him. That stretch where I remember it came up a couple months ago during city council meeting, San Fernando Road between Hollywood Way and Buena Vista is a raceway, and they wanted to change the speed limit on it, and there's no stops, and you're going to get going faster than hell. Yeah. And you know what? Somebody's going to get killed out there, and everybody's going to look at the city. Well, why didn't you do something? Well, this
that officer
did.
That day saved that driver from himself, possibly saved lives, if not just the drivers, others. And I think we talked about it last week where you had the car go through the storefront.
Right. 2 of them.
Right. Imagine if a car going 109 miles an hour lost control, which is very easy to do at those speeds. It doesn't take much to lose control, went into that store.
Yeah, don't you?
At that speed, just the damage caused by a vehicle going that speed is just incredible. You can't even picture it.
And I know this is rant is a little long, but Craig, I know you were in traffic. You specialize in that. You investigated hundreds of accidents. The reaction time when you're driving 109, you sneeze or fart, you could be, where can you be?
Well, if you do it at the same time, God help you. But no, well, the old rule is perception reaction time is about 1.5 seconds combined. So people think that we're really quick at reacting and hitting the brake and all that. Well, if you're paying attention, Lord knows where cars are full of distractions these days and their phones and stuff. But it took about 0.75 seconds to perceive something in front of you, an object, a pedestrian, something, a threat, and another 0.75 seconds just to communicate that to your foot to slam on the brake. After that, you still have to have the car stop, right, in time. That's in a perfect scenario. Those numbers have changed a little back and forth over the years, but I've always used the old rule of the 1.5 seconds. So imagine if you're going 109 miles an hour, how much distance you're covering in 1.5 seconds before you even apply the brakes. And that's if you're paying attention. And I'm guessing if somebody's going 109 miles an hour, they're probably showing off for themselves, somebody else, or they're already distracted. But so much can go wrong so quickly. But you're covering a lot of distance in that 1.5 seconds before you even apply the brakes.
Well,
Think about that.
I know there were 2 major accidents here in town last week, cars into buildings. One of them was a medical condition, which you can't help, but the other one was somebody going up Magnolia and somebody made a left turn and the driver, turned to the right real fast up the handicap ramp and went right into Bell Cottage. That's how fast that he couldn't react. And there was this gentleman inside the store. We have the video on my Burbank. That there was a guy in the store that heard the screeching and jumped out of the way. He was very, very lucky. But that's my rant of the week. I know some people listen to him. I have other complaints that I could bring up, but I just see it too much lately. And I've covered enough blood, guts, and gore.
Well, just to drive the point home,
years.
I've done some quick math here. And if you're going 109 miles an hour, you go 160 feet in 1 second. So if the brakes aren't being applied for 1.5 seconds, think about that. You're covering some major ground there, but I'll leave it there.
Well, that's my rant of the week. What a great show. We had a great week. I'm glad to see the people that came out to at the Road Kings Car Show. There were just hundreds of people. There were not only Burbank people. We got some classic stuff from some different people that were out there, which was fun. And we look forward to going on for next week. What else you got, Craig?
That's it for me. So for Craig Durling, for Ross Benson, this is Craig Sherwood saying thank you for listening, and we will talk to you again next week.
My Burbank Talks would like to thank all of My Burbank's advertisers for their continued support. Burbank Water and Power, Cusimano Real Estate Group, UME Credit Union, Burbank Chamber of Commerce, Gain Credit Union, Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, Community Chevrolet, Media City Credit Union, UCLA Health, Tequila's Burbank, Logix Credit Union, Hill Street Cafe, Bertain Escobar Wealth Management, and the UPS Store on 3rd Street.